Welcome to the DJM Finance Podcast. And in today's episode, we're asking the question, can you reach financial independence without purchasing a home?
DJ Finance.
What's going on, everybody? My name's Kamal, aka Swiss the DJ, aka Mr. Morrison, and this show is all about me documenting my journey on the road to financial freedom. So let me tell you guys, from the last podcast episode that I posted a short from that podcast episode, and it got a lot of people in their feelings. And disclaimer, as I've stated before, I am not a financial guru. I did not grow up with a concept about money and knew nothing about investing. I'm just an elderly millennial trying to reach financial independence and figuring things out in real time. I posted a reel stating that your primary residence does not produce income and does not pay you monthly. I also stated in the reel that your primary residence does not fund your retirement. Now, some people, they may downsize and use the remaining money to put towards investments. Some people, they may have owned their home for a long time and it has gone up in value, and they might refinance their home, pull home equity out, and they may use it in other investments. That's something that I did. Someone from my childhood messaged me and said that you can rent a portion out of your primary residence. But then they also stated that with interest rate at 4 to 5%, to afford a $700K home, you need 2 to 4 incomes to be able to do so. I don't know how much rental space you're going to get with a $700K home in the GTA. I guess you can move further away from the city, and that then becomes a possibility. In the reel, I also posted the 2033 rule to purchasing a home. Now, the rule states that you should have a 20% down payment, that your mortgage payment should be no more than 30% of your monthly income, and that the purchase price of the home, it should be no more than 3 times your yearly salary. I had someone comment saying that that rule is not realistic with the current economic conditions, saying that our income was never high and the home prices were never low. I respectfully disagreed with him and stated that people make their own choices. I don't think I make a crazy amount of money, and I was able to purchase my home using that rule. Now, my condo, before it closed, my mortgage payment would have been more than 30% of what I was making a month. However, I was able to double my income, and my mortgage payment was actually less than 30% of what I was bringing in monthly. I also had someone comment on TikTok, and this one was actually very interesting. I'll read it for you now. I commented back and stated that it's actually cheaper to rent in the GTA right now. And this was his response. Yes, I know, but just saying that your primary residence does not produce income, which directly goes into paying for your shelter. You don't pay for tax on this income, which is massive advantage governments give to homeowners. I guess he means when you sell your primary residence. I was a little confused by the comment. I asked for some clarification, but didn't get a response. Now, I know it's only a 30-second clip, and most individuals probably haven't listened or watched the full podcast to get full context. But what I've noticed is that home ownership seems to be a real touchy topic. I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think people don't understand the lens that I'm looking through as someone who's trying to reach financial independence. I'm just looking at the people who've achieved it, doing my research, and not trying to reinvent the wheel. The last episode was about the asset allocation of the financially independent people in Ontario, diving deep and seeing how their net worth is allocated. In the last podcast episode, I talked about a Toronto couple, Christy Shen and Bryce Lung, as they achieve financial independence in their early 30s. I currently watch them on a podcast, and I currently purchased their book, Quit Like a Millionaire. I'm excited and interested to dive deep into this book and get to the details of how they achieved financial independence. I wanted to share a 2.5-minute video when they were featured on CBC nearly 9 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Christy and Bryce.
Owning a home is a goal that is firmly fixed in many Canadians' life plans, but not for everyone. One Canadian couple in their 30s decided not to buy a home. They're now retired and traveling the world. But to do it, they say they had to fight against the pressure to own the roof over their heads.
My parents have been screaming at me to buy a house for the last 8 years, right? It's just, if you're a renter, you're a loser, right? If you're renting, you're throwing your money away. And that just drives me insane because we really tried to buy a house, we really did, but it just didn't make any sense.
We were saving for a down payment just like everybody else, but then the goalpost just kept moving and it just kept getting further and further. When we had 500 grand and we looked back at that house that was listed for 500 grand, now 900 grand. And it's just kind of like, wait,
keeps going.
Why am I can't win? And then we looked at the money and we're like, that's kind of a lot of money. Can we do anything else with this?
But wait, this engineering duo saved $500,000?
There was no secret. It's just watching where the money is going. I mean, having a low rent and not having a car was a big part of it.
There's nothing crazy about what we've done here. It's just kind of like, oh, if you just don't shoot yourself in the foot, then the money builds up automatically.
They said they even went on fancy vacations while they saved. And of course, they put their savings to work.
What we found was financial independence, right? Which is something that we stumbled into. And it's the concept that if you build a portfolio that's big enough, if you can safely withdraw 4% for the rest of your life, and that covers your expenses. So that way you can actually retire and you never have to work again. And what we actually found was that after we left our jobs, our costs actually went down. So traveling the world actually only cost $40,000, which is less than how much we spent in Toronto.
I mean, if you have $1 million house and $1 million portfolio, on the surface it should be pretty much the same thing, right? But it's actually not. If you have $1 million house, you still have to go into work. You still have to pay for maintenance. You still have to do property taxes. You still have to buy a car and insure and all this kind of stuff. If you have $1 million portfolio, it pays you.
But is this couple's life even more out of reach for average Canadians than buying a home? They don't think so.
You know, we're not geniuses. We're not. We got lost 3 times on the way here. I'm not kidding. We're not geniuses.
It's true.
A lot of people are like, what you're doing is amazing. No, we learned this through time, through years of learning about the stock market and investing in it and understanding diversified, balanced portfolios. So if people want to do this, I absolutely think they can.
The biggest thing that we've learned here is that if you figure out money, life is incredibly easy. But if you never figure that out, life is insanely hard.
Renting versus buying a home. At the beginning of this video, they talked about purchasing a home, and it seems like they wanted to purchase it in cash, but the prices just kept on moving up on them. And I must say, good for them for wanting to buy a home in cash. That's no joke. Now they saved $500,000. I know when people hear that, they're like, what? But they claim there was nothing crazy about what they did. I'm interested to get into the details of how they were able to save that money when I get into the book. They found financial independence. They said they stumbled into investing when they were looking what to do with this large sum of cash that they had saved up. The $1 million home versus the $1 million portfolio. Now, this was interesting. As I stated earlier, a lot of people commented on the reel that I posted talking about your primary residence. Now, they say the $1 million portfolio pays you, the $1 million home, you stay there, but you have to pay for maintenance and taxes. I had someone in my comments saying they refinanced their home, purchased other properties, and it was all possible because of their primary residence. That is true, as I did that with my condo, but you do have to take on more debt, and the Canadian real estate market right now is extremely volatile. My 1+1 condo in my building that I sold for $520K last year is selling for $399. They say anyone can do it. Now, I know when people hear that, they're like, yeah, right, you got lucky. Even when I posted the reel I talked about earlier, people got very defensive from the get-go. You know, when I was reading some of the comments and my DMs, I wonder if these people even know about financial independence. Do they know about the FIRE movement? Do they know there's a community of people doing this? Do they invest? What's their investment strategy? Do they believe that the stock market is for rich people? Do they believe that people lose money all the time investing in the stock market? All of these questions and concerns that I'm very, very truly interested about. They have a great blog and website titled The Millennial Revolution, where they talk about the FIRE movement and they're helping people every day. I'm excited to get into this book and share what I find with you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.